says in the book of Jonah, it says, "Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying," and I want to stop right here just for a minute, and I'll talk to you a little bit about Amittai. Amittai was a prophet. He was a prophet that went around and served God for the Jewish people. Now, this tells us then that Jonah came from a religious family. He came from a religious background. He knew how to serve God. He knew what he was supposed to do, and Amittai had taught him well. Now, he decided that, yes, I'm supposed to serve God. But it seems like he just didn't have the love that he should have had for the people in order to serve God with. Now, Jonah decided, I have been around a church family all my life. I've been serving God. I've been doing things all my life for God. And this time, God's asking a little bit too much of it. He's wanted me to go to those Ninevites, or the people of Nineveh, and I like to call them ninnies, if you don't mind. But he was going to these ninnies, and he was going to preach to them according to what God wanted him to do. He didn't like them. He said, no, I'm not going to Nineveh. I'm not going to preach there, simply because those people deserve hell. They deserve what they get, whatever it is. And if you remember, it was Nimrod that built Nineveh. It was an evil, wicked city. Much like maybe Sodom and Gomorrah, okay? Or something like San Francisco today. It was a horrible city. He decided on his own that it was time for them to take their punishment for the evil they had done over all these years. The Jews, all the Jews, hated the Ninevites, or the ninnies. They did not like them. They did not want to deal with them. They didn't want to have no part of them. They felt like they deserved to go to hell. Now, Jonah decided this in his heart. And he says, I'm not going. Look at verse 2 real quick, if you will. It says here, "Arise and go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come up before me." But Jonah, verse 3, rose up to flee unto Tarshish, which is in Spain, from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof, and went down to it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. Now, notice here twice we see that he was trying to go, what? From the presence of the Lord. Now, I want somebody, if you will, if you got a great, education in Christianity, you're theologically in sound mind, and you really know the answer to this question, I want you to stand up and tell me, where is the presence from God at? Where's that at? Where can you go that God is not at? Anybody? Nowhere exists, does it? There is no such place as from the presence of God. But why is it that Jonah decided that he could go from the presence of God? And is it not true that born-again Christians every single day in our society have decided in some way, somehow, they can go from the presence of God? And how do they do this? What behavior do they start to portray when they decide that they're going to go from the presence of God? Well, they get complacent, don't they? They decide that they're not going to serve God as God has told them that they must do. Maybe it's because you don't like certain people. Maybe it's because you feel like you have done too much in your Christian life and you deserve a break now. I've been going to church 30 years. No one's ever asked me to do anything. God has. God has. No one's ever asked me to do anything, so I'm just going to sit on this pew and I'm going to warm it from the rest of this time until the day I die and go to heaven. You have decided, in essence, by not wanting to serve God, you are going from the presence of God. You're assuming that God does not care if you serve Him or if you do not. Ladies and gentlemen, if you call yourself a born-again Christian and you do not have a burden to serve God, I believe I would get down on my knees after this message at this altar and I would pray and ask Him, plead with God to bring the Spirit of God back in me to serve Him. Amen. There is no presence from God. There is nowhere you can go in this entire world, in this entire universe, that you can get away from God where God does not see the heart that you have towards Him. Jonah thought he could do this. And he boarded this ship and decided he was going to Spain. Now we know the story of Jonah, and we knew what took place. But let's read on anyway. Verse 4, it says, "But the Lord sent out a great wind into the sea, and there was a mighty tempest in the sea, so that the ship was like to be broken." Now we see that Jonah is on his ship, sailing from the presence of God. I would assume that Jonah thought right away when he stepped on that ship and that ship left its port, he thought, now I'm away from God. The ship got out to sea a little ways, and all of a sudden, the biggest nightmare of any sailor, the wind builds up. The wind builds up. And the ship starts twirling. It's going round and round. And all of a sudden the bow's hitting the water. Bam, bam, going up and down. Water's coming on the ship. People are getting scared. They're getting afraid. But Jonah's doing something kind of strange. While everybody's terrified, women are screaming, children are hollering. The sailors are panicking. The captain feels like, I've lost control of this boat. There's nothing I can do for it. And I don't understand this. We weren't expecting storms. I've been watching the weather. Everything was supposed to be fine. We were supposed to have a smooth sail across the ocean here. But all of a sudden this storm comes up. The captain don't understand it. This is an act of God's. Notice I said God's. There's something wrong here. Something is on this ship that is cursing this ship. It's the only thing that the captain can come up with. They start throwing cargo off the ship, which is called wares in the Bible. They're throwing this cargo off the ship, trying to lighten it of its load. Because every time that bow goes up, it comes down, it probably goes under the water about a foot and a half or 2 feet. It takes on water, gallons and gallons of water. The ship starts slowly going down and down and down and down. Let's throw some weight off the boat. Let's get some weight off the boat. And maybe we can make it. Perhaps we can make it. Maybe we'll get to the other side of the storm. Maybe we'll find an island somewhere where we can park his ship and live and get through this. But the harder they fight and the more they try to do, the worse the storm gets. Now, I want you to imagine this. People are scared for their life. They're terrified. We're going to die. There's no chance we're going to die. Because when the captain and the sailors panic, everybody panics. When the captain says there's no hope, lighten the load, get some stuff off here, pray to your gods, and maybe they'll be merciful upon us. Maybe they'll let us live. Maybe something will happen, some miracle somehow, but there's nothing I can do. My hands are clean, and we're going to die. There's not a thing I can do. At that point, ladies and gentlemen, you are in panic state. Now try to imagine the screams and the hollers. You say, Brother Marty, was there passengers on that ship? Absolutely. They would take cargo and they would take passengers and they would go back over to the Spain area and they would come back to Israel. And they would do both trips the same way. That's the way they made their money. So yeah, there were passengers on this ship that were panicking and screaming and hollering and begging these pagan gods to let us live. Be merciful, let us live. But then again, as I said a while ago, while all this panic was going on, Jonah was doing something kind of strange. It don't make sense. And I have to scratch my head and I have to wonder, why was Jonah doing this? How could Jonah be doing this? Let's read on. Let's go to verse 5. It said, Then the mariners were afraid, or the sailors, and cried every man unto his God, and cast forth the wares of the cargo that were in the ship into the sea, to lighten it of them. But Jonah, watch this, but Jonah was gone down into the sides of the ship, and he lay and was fast asleep. Now I want you to think about this. The old wind blowing. Water coming over the bow. The ship going under the water, coming back up. Rain hit them in the face real hard, just beating against them. Sailors screaming and hollering and begging their gods to sail them. The captain's in panic state. The women, the children are running all over the ship. Women trying to protect their children, hold them down and comfort them just a little bit. The screams and the yells and the moans and the wails are terrible on this ship. But somebody looks over to the side, and there's Jonah. And I imagine he was down into a good deep sleep. He probably had a little bit of slobber coming off his side of his jaw there. I mean, he's letting it roll. How can a man sleep during a great storm? During a time where people are panicking, screaming and hollering, and they're moving cargo around, trying to get it out of there. Who knows? He was probably behind some big piece of cargo. When they moved it out there he lay, like a little baby. What is wrong with this dude? We don't have no liquor on this ship. There's no wine around here. He can't be drunk. What's the matter with him? Let me ask you a question. How could Jonah have been asleep? That makes you wonder, doesn't it? I tell you folks, there ain't no way. Because the ocean kind of scares me anyway. I've been in a lot of boats. And when a storm comes up like that, you can't do nothing but get scared. Because it's dangerous. Amen? You ain't got a plank that you can walk to shore on. If that boat goes under, you going with it. And I believe that burning alive or drowning would be two of the worst deaths that you could experience. It'd be horrible. It'd be a nightmare. I couldn't lay there and sleep through it. I would be praying as hard as I could pray. I'd be praying for a miracle of some sort. God, please, you control the weather. You can quieten the storm. Do it. Please, Lord, do it. Now, here's a man of God from a religious family. He's laying on this boat asleep. Again, I ask you, how? How can Jonah sleep? Verse 6. So the shipmaster came to him. The captain came to him and said unto him, What meanest thou, O sleeper? Arise, call upon thy God, and so be that God will think upon us, that we perish not. Basically what it's saying here is this. Somebody went back to the captain and told the captain, Hey, there's some nut down here asleep. Now the captain probably already figured out there's something wrong on this boat. There's a curse happening on this boat. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to find it, and I'm going to try to lighten this boat of that curse so that we don't drown. And then they come to him and say, Captain, you don't believe this. There's this little skinny, and I think he's bald-headed, little skinny bald-headed fella down here, sound asleep. If you're bald-headed, I ain't making fun of you. I ain't saying nothing wrong. I just got that image. I don't know why. Why do you get images like that? I don't know where they come from. But anyway, there he is. Sound asleep. There's some little bald-headed guy there. He's sound asleep. Asleep. Captain probably scratched his head a little bit. Are you crazy? Ain't no way he can be sleeping through this. He's down there. You want to go look at him? Come on. Take him down there. Captain looks. Well, you ain't right. And basically what he was saying, what are you doing? Get up, boy. That's what the captain said to him. Are you crazy? Don't you see what's going on? Get up, pray. Is everything all right with you, fella? What happened to you? Did you bump your head or what happened? Get up in there and start praying that we don't perish, that we don't die in the storm. And I imagine the captain's severe reaction to Jonah was because he couldn't understand either how Jonah could be sleeping during this storm. And again, I ask that question. Verse 7. And they said everyone to his fellow, Come, let us cast lots that we may know for whose cause this evil is upon us. Right there, the captain's kind of revealing something in it. This boat is cursed. I know it. Because the signs don't read right. Something unusual. Something tremendous is going on that I can't control here. And I know it. He said, look, everybody cast lots so we know whose cause this evil is upon us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell upon, say it with me, Jonah. God's revealing him, isn't he? You know, sometimes I wonder if God just ain't got a sense of humor. There's a guy down here sound asleep. Everybody thinks he's probably drunk or something wrong with him. And then they cast lots. And God said, all right, point at Jonah. He's about to give Jonah a hard time. A severely hard time. Now at this point they know who it is. But now they've got a dilemma. What do we do with you, fella? What is it we're supposed to do with you? You know, you're on this boat. You cursed us. And your God, whoever he is, he's mad at you. And because he's mad at you, we're all in trouble. Now, if we cast you over the bow there or over the side of the ship, we might make him madder. Because he's obviously dealing with you in some way. He's interacting with you. Our God's never do that with us, that we can tell. But your God's interacting with you. He's got something to do with you. He must be involved with you in some way. So do we throw you over or do we leave you on the ship? But how could you be sleeping during this? Verse 8. And they said unto him, Tell us. We pray thee, we're begging. Tell us, for whose cause this evil is upon us? What is thine occupation? And whence cometh thou? Where do you come from? What is thy country? And of what people are you? Who are you, Jonah? Suddenly Jonah started to stand out, didn't he? Let me tell you something, folks. You're sitting here tonight, and you're a born-again Christian. No matter what you do, you're going to stand out in this world. Somehow the world's going to know who you are. I have walked through grocery stores and sat down in restaurants. Brother Reese, you probably went through the same thing. And people have walked up to me and said, "You're a preacher, aren't you?" Sometimes I got on blue jeans and my old boots and old work shirt. I don't know how they know it, but they know it. They're in tune with it. No matter where I go in the world, people have asked me and have tried to identify me as a preacher or a born-again Christian. People are puzzled about us. They don't get us. There's big religions like Catholicism, Islam, and all these religions. Yet we seem to stand out more than anybody else on this earth. We're hated, but we stand out. They don't like us. They want to do away with us, but we stand out. They're asking Jonah, "Who are you? Who are you?" You know, I was watching a show not long ago. I don't know if you ever watched it, The Princess Bride. You ever saw that movie? And this one guy is a good sword fighter. Boy, he's going to town. He's fighting a man that is from Spain. And this guy that's fighting him's got this mask on. They're fighting real good. And the Spaniard thought he was the best in the world. And they stopped at one point. And he's looking at that guy in the mask and he says, "Who are you?" And that's basically what the world's asking us. They know that there's something about us and they want it. Deep inside they want it. They won't admit it. They won't show it. They won't play the hand, but they want it. They want to know more about you. Let me ask Jonah this. Verse 9. And he said unto them, "I am a Hebrew, and I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, which hath made the sea and the dry land." Why? Jonah, you're a man of God, and you revere him. That's what that word means, fear. So that word fear means revere. You reverence him, and your God is interacting with you, and your God cares about what you have done, and your God is reacting to what you've done, and your God is still trying to put you back to where he wanted you to be originally. You got a real God. We have a lot of gods, but we don't ever have this interaction with him. This God seems to have a personal relationship, Jonah, with you. Amen. And we don't have that. At this point, the people on the boat have went from gods and praying to them to be centered in on God, the God of Jonah. Amen. They don't care no more about their gods. They care about this God that has a personal relationship with a human being, that he would go through all this trouble to get the attention of this man. Huh. That's my God too. Amen. Then were the men, verse 10, exceedingly afraid, and said unto him, listen to this, "Why hast thou done this?" For the men knew that he fled from the presence of the Lord, because he told them. Why have you done this? Jonah, why have you put us in this predicament? Why have you put us in a position where we can die and go to hell by not referencing God like you said you do? Why have you done this? Why have you drifted away from your God, putting our lives in danger, when your God is so wonderful that he interacts with you in little special little ways? Why would you try to hide this God from us? Why would you not get on this ship and tell us about it? Why are you causing this trouble? What do we do with you, Jonah? Tell us. You had it all figured out when you got on this ship, and you were going to go away from your God. Obviously, you can't get away from him because he is truly a God. Amen. This is what they're saying. He's followed you. He knows what you're doing. He's interacting with you. But why have you put much trouble? Why are we going to have to die because of you keeping your mouth shut? Down there sleeping. How could you be sleeping? Jonah, we don't get it. You need to tell us more. Then said they unto him, What shall we do unto thee, that the sea may be calm unto us? For the sea is rotten and was tempestuous. Then he said unto them, Take me up and cast me forth into the sea. So shall the sea be calm unto you. For I know that for my sake, this great tempest is upon us. Nevertheless, the men rowed hard to bring it to land. But they could not, for the sea was rotten and was tempestuous against them. When you have a situation going on with God, and you have that personal relationship with Him, nobody on this earth can help you and deliver you from God. When you have messed up, and you have placed yourself in a predicament where you're not doing the will of God, and God says, enough! Enough. You can go to the preacher, you can go to mama and daddy, you can go to the Sunday school teacher. Wouldn't advise you to go to the Pope. But nobody can help him. They tried to get him to shoreline. They didn't know what to do with him. He said, throw me over. They said, no, we can't do that. God will get mad at us. So they tried to row harder to get to shore. God said, no. I'm dealing with Jonah. Ladies and gentlemen, God loves each one of us so much that He will deal with us as an individual. Amen. You may want to claim the church. You may want to be a preacher. You may want to be a Sunday school teacher, a missionary. And God will deal with you in an individual way on each thing that He wants us to do. And nobody on this earth can help us from it. In other words, there will never be peace through anybody else other than God. Did you hear me? You will never find peace outside of God. Amen. They cast him over. Great fish grabbed him. And yes, it was a whale. If you go to Matthew chapter 12, I believe it is, verse 40, it says it was a whale. A lot of preachers say, well, we don't know for sure. Well, Jesus said it was a whale, so I'm going to say it's a whale too. He said the whale. Now, we know the story. The whale vomited him up, put him on shore. We see in the verses in chapter 2 and 3. Jonah suddenly decided he wanted to go to Nineveh as he was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and nights. What is the whale's belly a symbol of? Hell. Can you imagine the stomach acids in that belly burning you? They say that your skin would probably be bleached by the time you come out of it. Awful sounds. Whoa, whoa. I mean, horrible sounds, nightmarish sounds. You don't know what's coming at you. Water coming at you. Whoa! You can barely breathe half the time. Total darkness. Jonah had had enough. Seaweed hanging off of him and all. He spits him up on the shore, right at the path where he should have been at to begin with, to go to Nineveh. And God tells him, go to Nineveh. Just like I told you before. We didn't have to do all this. This is your design, your idea. We didn't have to do this. So what does Jonah do? He takes off running. I laugh because I can imagine Jonah running. Here he goes down the street. This road that goes to Nineveh. Old hot desert road. Wow, he's going, boy, he's just going, Jonah, where are you going? I ain't got time to talk to you. I got to go to Nineveh. He's going to get there quick now. Little seaweed hanging off of him, bleached skin, don't even look like himself. Running to Nineveh. He makes it in one day. Runs to Nineveh. Can you imagine some dude running into your town, all bleached, seaweed hanging off of him, tuckered out, hadn't eaten in a while, bony, skinny. Get my breath. Trying to get all that salt out of him. You better repent. It had to be a sight. Hey, Griffin, that's what he would say. That's a sight. Exactly, it was a sight. But once he opened his mouth, no matter how he looked, no matter what state of mind he was in, no matter what condition his body and his looks was, when he opened his mouth and told them what God wanted to say, the Holy Spirit came in, whoosh, and done the great work that needed to be done. Amen. But how could Jonah have been sleeping during the storm? Let me submit to you tonight. Sin is intoxicating. It pleases the flesh. It is our soul and our spirit that has to fight against that. Paul said, what I don't want to do, I do. What I want to do, I don't do. Talking about his flesh. The easiest thing in the world to do is not serve God. To sit on that couch and watch that television, that sports, or whatever's on TV. Or to sit back and take you a little nap. But God wants you out. God wants you doing things for Him. God wants you to witness. He wants you to set time aside every day to witness. Amen. You know, old Martin Luther made God a promise that he would witness to someone every single day. Every day. And he fell asleep one night. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. He was tuckered out. He'd worked hard all day long. Just bone tired. Cold rain outside. And he fell asleep. About 1:30 he woke up. It's like God nudged him and said, hey, you didn't win nobody. He jumps up. Doesn't even get dressed. Runs down to the street. Finds a man standing there. An old bum. Old guy that's drunk and just kind of, wanders around. Hey, brother, come here. Let me tell you about Jesus. And he led him to Jesus. Amen. In the cold rain. Not properly dressed himself. But he made God a promise, and he was keeping it. Folks, this is a beautiful church. But could you imagine a balcony full? Yeah. If we would take on that spirit to serve God, amen, you'd fill this church up in less than a year. Amen. You're choosing a pastor. And who you choose. But witness and stay busy for God, whoever it is. That's right. Whoever it is. Amen. Do the will of God in this church, just like Jonah. Don't make the mistake of thinking you can flee from the presence of God and have your own little okie-dokie life going on without Him. That's right. He is everywhere. He's in all things. And He knows everything you're doing. I don't know where you are tonight spiritually. But if you haven't got a plan in your life to serve God, I would run to this altar tonight and say, God, this is my plan. Amen. I don't know if you're saved tonight. Maybe you're not born again. You don't even know what it means. You know, I've heard that phrase so many times, but I'm not familiar with it, really. I'm like Nicodemus. Does that mean I go back in my mother's stomach and get born again? No. Jesus said, what is the spirit? Spirit, what is the flesh? Is flesh. It is a new beginning that separates you from all your old past. It gives you a new life. You're a new creation in God. By confessing your sin to Christ, confessing your sin in all sincerity, not holding anything back purposely, you can be saved. The Spirit will then move inside of you, and you will understand tonight's message clearer than you've ever said anything in your life. You'll want to serve God. Maybe tonight you're lost and you just don't see any good reason to get saved. I promise you, God can come down there and open up that floor, a hole that goes straight to hell, and put you in there for 3 minutes and brought you back. You would run down here and beg someone to tell you how to get saved. Amen. Folks, I'm talking the truth. It's going to happen one day. Amen. Are you ready? Are you prepared? Have you received Christ as your Savior?